Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, a podcast where ordinary people get to share their hero's journey. I'm Mandi.
And I'm Karen, and we'll be your hosts.
We'll discover powerful insights, critical moments of growth, and much more.
Thanks for joining us. We all have a monomyth to share, and someone out there needs to hear it.
Welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, where it's a take what you like and leave the rest podcast.
So today we are lifting up and celebrating our first two male guests. We have the privilege and honor of hosting Weston and Donnell on our podcast.
Yeah, let's start with Weston.
Mm-hmm.
So Weston's episode really is about the importance of being humble and learning from real life situations. It's also about the power of having a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm. And what was special about it was I felt like it was like this intimate chat watching it of mother and son.
Yeah.
Because Weston's your kid.
That's right. For people who haven't watched this episode, Weston is my son.
Yeah. So for me, my response to it was like, yes, there was a lot of significant life lessons, from what Weston shared. But what I got out of it is number one, kudos to you. You got your teenage son to get involved in something you're a part of and to appear with you and to share his monomyth, to share so openly and so humbly. Number two, he took ownership and responsibility for, the events that happened that he shared, which were pretty harrowing and also really wild. I was like, when I was listening to it, I was like jaw on the ground going, what now? Whoa! But it was also really refreshing to hear his journey and what he took out of it and how he was like, hey, this was a growth experience. I'm building my muscles, I'm changing and growing, and I'm learning, most importantly. And number three, this is a testimony of the mother and son relationship that the two of you enjoy. Your closeness is so evident. He's being vulnerable, he's sharing, and he's able to admit his faults. So having said all of that, Mandi, I have a question for you. As his parent, as his mom, how did it feel watching Weston navigate this experience?
Oh man, watching Weston navigate this experience. For those of you who haven't listened to his monomyth yet, when he first told us about this experience, we couldn't even believe what he was telling us. I mean, we were just shocked and dumbfounded, worried for him, but after having some time to digest it and really think through it, I'm very proud of him.
Yeah.
I feel very proud that, he came out of what could have been a very dangerous situation and learned a lot and was excited about the things that he learned in that experience. As a parent, it's hard to find that balance of I don't want to stifle his excitement and his growing, right? And still allow him to be able to, go out and have these experiences and learn from them. But it's scary at the same time as a parent, knowing he is adventurous as he is. But he does get it honestly, he does have us for parents. And, we are quasi-risk takers, so he has grown up with that model. But again, he's, humble enough to learn from his experiences. For me, I'm having to learn this whole new level of faith.
Yes.
That I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And, I find myself having to surrender him, to the God of my understanding all the time, that, he will be taken care of and it's not my job anymore. And there's nothing I can do about his crazy adventures.
But I also feel like there's this, a very healthy sense of confidence and a trust in life and in you guys that everything's going to work out fine. That, I think about, he could have, it could have been a situation where it could really set him back or make him afraid or, more hesitant. And that's not what happened. He was just very, okay, let's learn, forward, onwards, do better. I need to imitate that level of faith and trust because he clearly has a lot of faith to go and jump in with both feet to the adventures he's embarking on. And I think also as parents, that's our job. Our job is to launch them into this crazy world.
I think getting the opportunity to do that episode with him, I realized that I really am celebrating that he and I are moving into another phase part of our relationship. I am no longer the person who tells him what he needs to learn, or, to help him down that path. I'm actually now getting the opportunity to learn from him.
Yeah.
There was a point in that episode where he talks about type 1 fun and type 2 fun, which I found fascinating. And I took that into my everyday language now, and I love that we do that when we get, guests on the show who talk about things like sprinkles and all the other things. That his is, type 1 fun and type 2 fun. So it's a lot of fun to get to learn from him now.
Yes, and even for myself, even though I'm not his parent, but also being like, I'm learning from my friend's child that lesson, type 1 fun and type 2 fun, and to really see the value and like, okay, like that wasn't pleasant, but there was so much value, and looking back, yeah, good time. That was a good time. Okay, so now let's talk about Donnell. What an edge of your seat, captivating testimony does that man have?
Yeah.
Seriously. So Donnell is a living, walking, breathing example of rebirth and redemption. So for those unfamiliar with Donnell's Monomyth, please go and listen to his episodes. And I mean that sincerely, because I can't possibly do justice to his story, because the way he tells it is so integral to experiencing what he went through.
Yeah, he's absolutely captivating.
And that energy is infectious.
When I think about celebrating Donnell and his Monomyth, there are three things that really come to mind. One, he said something about his congregation that stood out to me. I am a member of his church now.
Yes.
And I truly feel like he's changing lives. He's definitely changed my life tremendously. I've been on this search for a church for such a long time, and nothing ever stuck. And finding his church, I can see myself in the congregation. And he had said, you have to be able to put yourself and see yourself in the congregation. And I can. I can see myself in the brokenness, because I was once broken too, just like him. The second thing that comes to mind when I think of him is the fact that he says your story matters. And it so aligns with what we're doing here. And I thought, wow, that's very powerful, that God is not done with your story. Everybody's story is always evolving. The third thing that he said in his episode was that he's a miracle.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is saying out loud, I am a miracle. And he said, when someone says I'm a miracle, it changes how they see themselves. And I know we saw that in Christina's episode too.
Yeah.
And I think I even said it in my episode, when I know today I'm a miracle, and I can identify and celebrate that with him, that I love that he points that out. Like, we should be celebrating where we've come from, really. The growth that we've made. Give ourselves a pat on the back. We've done a good job. We're growing. We want to keep growing. Those are just three little things that I took from his episode. I mean, his episodes were definitely impactful to me.
If I could add to what you just shared, the fact that, like, I think the first time you spoke to me, you met at like a networking event, and your only thought was just like, oh man, he's got an incredible story. Let's have him on the podcast. And then as our journey of putting together his episode, talking to him, having him here, and that actually led to your personal transformation in terms of like finding a church congregation that you saw yourself reflected in. And again, it was his story that drew you in. Again, his story literally mattered, and it changed you. It had an effect on your personal story and sent you in a different direction.
It has. It truly has.
So for me, and I had a chance to experience not only Donnell's podcast, but also to attend his church congregation. And to be part of that.
That's right. You came to my baptism.
I did. And you see that none of that would be possible if it wasn't for the Monomyth that he lived. There is something about him that makes you feel like you've been best friends for life, even though you literally just met. Okay? And it's like he knows you like an old friend. And I really believe it's because he has personally experienced some of the darkest places a human could have ever gone through. And then he came out the other side. That was what really sits with me when I consider what Donnell shared. What he shares is just so full of light in life. And again, I can see, how the journey that he was on that would manifest him becoming a pastor, becoming a minister, and ministering to a congregation, and connecting with people through brokenness. It is so moving. It is so invigorating. I've been motivated myself to follow in his example, to be able to give that same spirit and passion. I really believe, because he went through, literally, when I say roller coaster, like roller coaster and then some, for him to finally get in touch with his spiritual side and then feed that. And that is, create this fountain in him, if you will. And that's what he gives to others. And his story matters in terms of helping others see if their stories matter. I just get chills whenever I think about his episodes and his journey. And we still don't know how his journey's going to end. It still feels like he's just beginning.
As we wrap up, we want to thank Donnell and Weston for sharing their Monomyths on our podcast. And we want to ask our listeners, is there a guest in particular that you want to lift up and celebrate? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us on the Monomyth Diaries. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, we'd love for you to share it and spread the inspiration.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube to stay connected.
We'd appreciate it if you could take a moment and rate and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people with stories of transformation and growth.
You can visit us at monomythdiaries.com or text us directly from the show notes to reach out and keep the conversations going.
Until next time, heroes, let's journey together through our monomyths.